A rug can be pulled from under your feet quite quick at any point. It takes you into some pretty gelled and loved being in those sorts of cauldron of fear, noise.
The world watches with bated breath as Prince Harry makes an emergency flight to London, boarding a private jet with an urgency that speaks volumes about what's truly at stake. This isn't a casual family visit or a routine royal engagement. It's a desperate mission executed with military precision to save the last remaining threads connecting him to his royal heritage. As the sleek aircraft cuts through Atlantic skies, Harry sits alone with his thoughts, the weight of a dynasty's expectations pressing down on his shoulders. He wanted the first flight out. No announcements, no PR spin, no preparation, reveals a source close to the Sussex household. This wasn't planned. This is panic mode. What could possibly trigger such alarm? What intelligence from London could send shockwaves powerful enough to uproot a prince from his California sanctuary and launch him across an ocean with barely a moment's notice? Behind the centuries-old walls of Buckingham Palace, a seismic power shift is underway, one that threatens everything Harry holds dear: his titles, his children's future, and his last tenuous connection to the world he reluctantly left behind. The very fabric of the monarchy is being rewoven, and Harry's thread is dangerously close to being cut entirely. Palace insiders speaking on condition of anonymity reveal the catalyst. William, the heir to the throne, has quietly but decisively assumed control while King Charles battles serious health issues. They've begun referring to it in hushed corridors as the pre-succession period, a carefully chosen euphemism for what's really happening. While Charles still wears the crown, it's William making the decisions that will reshape the monarchy for generations to come. Every institution has its shadow leader during times of transition, explains a former royal aide with decades of experience navigating palace politics. Charles may sign the papers, but it's William drafting them. The staff know it, the family knows it, and now Harry knows it too. The transformation in William is perhaps the most striking element of this royal reconfiguration. Gone is the brother who once stood shoulder to shoulder with Harry through their darkest days following Princess Diana's death. In his place stands a future king whose cold calculation and business-minded approach to monarchy leaves precious little room for family sentiment. William now views the royal family not through the lens of blood ties and shared childhood memories, but as a brand requiring protection, an institution that must survive regardless of personal cost. When William looks at the monarchy, he doesn't see family dinners and Christmas at Sandringham, confides one palace source who has worked closely with both brothers. He sees a business that's been bleeding reputation for years. Every scandal, every tell-all interview, every Netflix documentary or memoir excerpt damages the brand, and William refuses to let that be his legacy. This fundamental shift in perspective has profound implications. William has apparently grown weary of endless discussions, second chances, and the hope that problems will simply resolve themselves with time. Palace staff report a fundamental change in how decisions are made, with one senior aide noting the compassionate wait-and-see approach that characterized Charles's leadership has given way to something more reminiscent of the late Queen: decisive, unwavering, and occasionally ruthless when necessary. It's like watching power transfer in slow motion, reveals a senior palace insider who has worked with 3 generations of royals. Charles will suggest something, and staff will nod politely, then quietly ask William what he actually wants done. It's not official, nobody's announced anything, but everyone inside knows who's really steering the ship. What makes this power shift particularly significant is William's personality. Unlike Charles, who royal biographers have long described as emotional, contemplative, and sometimes indecisive, William displays a pragmatism that borders on coldness when it comes to protecting the institution. He's reportedly told his inner circle that the monarchy can't survive on sentiment alone. Charles looks at Harry and sees his son, his memories, his heart, explains a longtime royal correspondent. He remembers when things were simpler, when the family was together. William looks at the situation and sees a business problem that needs a business solution. A catalyst for William's increasingly hardened stance. Many point to the ongoing York situation, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson's continued association with scandal. What began as social embarrassment has evolved into something far darker, with financial ties to Jeffrey Epstein allegedly running deeper than previously acknowledged. There are even rumors swirling about some seriously messy financial complications, reveals a source with connections to royal legal advisors. If any of that's true, we're talking about a scandal that doesn't just embarrass the family, it ties them to something way darker. For William, the York situation represented everything wrong with the old approach: endless tolerance, minimal consequences, and reputation damage that spreads like poison throughout the entire institution. Reports suggest that Sarah Ferguson allegedly took substantial sums from Epstein over nearly a decade and a half, figures that could reach into the millions. If that's accurate, notes a royal finance expert, it means the royal name was basically being supported by scandal cash. That's the part that makes William absolutely furious. It's not just about bad judgment anymore. It's about the family name being tied to something he can't defend, can't spin, can't explain away. William's response to the York situation has established a blueprint for how he intends to handle family members who damage the monarchy. No more quiet conversations and gentle suggestions. No more hoping things will blow over if given enough time. William is drawing clear lines between being born royal and earning the right to represent the crown. He does what nobody else has the guts to do, says a former protection officer who worked with both princes. William realized something crucial. If he handles the York situation first, it sets the tone for how other situations get handled moving forward. He's not thinking about one problem at a time. He's thinking about the entire system. This strategic approach extends to William's vision for a streamlined, scandal-free monarchy. He's not just reacting to current drama, he's thinking decades ahead to when his own children will inherit these same challenges. Prince George will one day wear the crown, while Charlotte and Louis will be working royals. What kind of monarchy is William preparing to hand them? One constantly dealing with family members airing grievances on camera. One where public sentiment continually erodes with each new tell-all. William refuses to let that be his legacy, emphasizes a source who has worked with the Cambridge household. He's building something different, something stronger, and he doesn't care who gets left behind in the process. Which brings us back to Harry's emergency flight. Palace sources confirm that William has been quietly preparing to potentially strip Harry and Meghan of their Duke and Duchess of Sussex titles, the last formal tie binding them to the royal establishment. This would be unprecedented in modern royal history, removing titles from the monarch's son not for criminal conduct, but for what William perceives as continued damage to the institution. It's not just about the Netflix series or the memoir anymore, explains a royal correspondent with decades covering the family. It's the cumulative effect. Every interview, every revelation, every subtle dig at how the institution operates, William sees it as death by 1,000 cuts. And he's finally decided enough is enough. The timing couldn't be worse for Harry and Meghan. They've spent years building their American identity on the foundation of these royal connections, carefully balancing their desire for independence with the marketability of their royal status. Having walked away from the responsibilities of working royal life, they've nevertheless continued to benefit from the prestige and recognition their titles provide. Meanwhile, Meghan has been building her own defense against the possibility of title removal. Sources close to the couple reveal she's preparing to launch a cosmetics line and has reportedly changed her legal surname to Duchess of Sussex. A clever strategy to retain the brand value even if the title itself is removed. It's bold, it's clever, it's pure Hollywood strategy, wrapped in royal silk, observes a branding expert who has worked with celebrities transitioning through major identity shifts. She's essentially future-proofing her brand before anyone can touch it. This move reportedly has William not amused at all. Palace insiders whisper that he's already working behind the scenes to distance the royal name from any commercial ventures. Meghan's planning. The message is clear: she might be able to use the name, but the palace will ensure everyone knows there's no official royal connection or endorsement. The conflict represents two fundamentally different worldviews crashing together like tectonic plates, with the resulting earthquake threatening to permanently alter the royal landscape. Meghan believes she earned that title through marriage and public service, however brief. In her mind, she should get to keep her name and use it however she wants after enduring the pressures of royal life. William maintains that titles belong to the institution, not the individual, privileges that can be revoked when one stops serving that institution. Two completely different philosophies crashing into each other, and neither one's backing down, notes a cultural historian specializing in monarchy. This isn't just about Harry and William anymore. It's about defining what monarchy means in the modern age. For Harry, the potential title strip isn't just about pride or tradition. It's about financial survival in a world where he's built an entirely new life predicated on his royal identity. Entertainment industry insiders explain the concept of the royal premium, the substantial increase in contract value that comes with royal titles. Those massive Netflix and Spotify deals, book contracts worth millions, speaking engagements commanding six figures. They weren't investing in Harry Windsor and Meghan Markle as individuals. They were paying for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, clarifies a media executive who has negotiated with similar high-profile clients. For the royal connection, the palace intrigue, the insider access. A celebrity memoir might get $1 million advance. A royal memoir gets $10 million. The financial mathematics are brutally simple and completely dependent on maintaining that royal status. Without the titles, Harry and Meghan's brand value could drop by 70 to 80%, estimates one industry expert who specializes in celebrity brand valuation. Suddenly, you're just another celebrity couple with opinions and a podcast, and there are thousands of those. This financial reality explains Harry's desperate flight to London. He's not just fighting for family reconciliation, he's fighting for the entire financial foundation of his life in America. Security costs alone run into millions annually without royal protection. Add the Montecito mansion with its $14 million price tag, property taxes, staff salaries, PR teams, and travel expenses, and the stakes become crystal clear. Losing those titles could force a dramatic downscaling within years. Not broke, exactly, clarifies a financial advisor familiar with high net worth transitions, but definitely not living at the level they've been maintaining. They'd have to downsize, cut staff, maybe renegotiate contracts, because companies might start feeling like they didn't get what they paid for. Industry insiders have started quietly speculating about what comes next if the titles disappear. Maybe they pivot to lifestyle content, competing with every other celebrity influencer in an already saturated market. Maybe they lean harder into activism. Though without the royal platform, their influence diminishes considerably. Perhaps Meghan returns to acting or Harry writes another book. Though without the royal angle, publishers won't be offering 8-figure advances. The cruel reality is that their entire strategy was built on keeping one foot in the royal world while living outside of it, explains a PR strategist who has worked with celebrities navigating major transitions. They wanted freedom from duties, but not from benefits. And for a while it worked. But William appears ready to call that bluff. His message is clear: you can't have it both ways. You're either royal with all the responsibilities that entails, or you're not. And if you're not, stop selling yourselves as if you are. The most heartbreaking aspect may be what this means for Archie and Lilibet. They stand to lose their prince and princess designations before they're old enough to understand what those titles meant. They would become the cousins who live in America, appearing in old family photos but absent from new ones, outsiders to a heritage that should have been their birthright. Think about what this means for those kids' lives, says a child development expert who has studied high-profile families. Archie's going to grow up hearing stories about how his dad was a prince, how his grandmother was Princess Diana, how his cousins are going to be king and princess one day, but he won't be part of that world anymore. Not officially. Beyond the titles themselves, sources say the moment those designations disappear, so does much of the connection to the royal family. No more Christmas at Sandringham, even if they wanted to attend. No more balcony appearances during Trooping the Color. No more anything that marks them as members of the family in an official capacity. They become private citizens who happen to be related to royals, explains a historian specializing in royal protocol. That's it. That's all that's left. Caught in this power struggle is King Charles, watching from the sidelines as illness robs him of the strength to intervene effectively. Sources close to the monarch describe him sitting alone in his study, teacup trembling in his hands, torn between his love for Harry and his duty to the crown. In his ideal world, his sons would have reconciled years ago, his grandchildren would know each other, and holidays would bring the entire family together again. Charles is stuck watching his two sons tear each other apart while he's too weak to step between them, reveals a longtime friend of the king. He's become this quiet peacekeeper, whispering about reconciliation, hoping someone will find a way to bridge the gap. But his whispers don't carry much weight anymore. Palace insiders describe Charles as genuinely heartbroken over the situation. He reportedly spends long moments staring out palace windows, looking older than his years, thinking about Diana and wondering what she would say about all this. Would she be proud of Harry for choosing his own happiness? Or disappointed that he walked away? Would she understand William's position, or beg him to show mercy? Charles carries the weight of both his sons' pain, both their anger, says someone who has known the king for decades. But the reality is he doesn't have to make the choice himself. His illness has given him this strange kind of outlet. William's making the tough calls. Being the bad guy, Charles can maintain his role as the loving father who wishes things were different. When Harry lands in London, he faces a brother who's no longer thinking as family but as the future king. Sources close to Harry suggest his strategy will be to appeal to shared memories, to their mother's legacy, to the bond they once had as brothers who protected each other through their darkest days. Harry's coming to the table thinking he can appeal to William's heart, to their shared past, explains a source who has maintained connections with both brothers. But William's already made up his mind that sentiment is a weakness the monarchy can't afford right now. The potential meeting between the brothers is described by palace staff as potentially the coldest conversation in Windsor history. On one side, Harry desperate, emotional, still believing family loyalty should transcend everything else. On the other side sits William, the future king, cold and calculated, treating his own brother like a PR crisis that needs managing. Harry thinks he's been standing up for himself, refusing to let the institution break him the way it allegedly broke their mother, says a mental health professional who has studied the dynamics of high-profile family breakdowns. He walked away from what he perceived as a toxic situation, and he doesn't understand why that makes him the villain. William sees it completely differently. To him, Harry was born into responsibilities that came with privileges and wealth, then decided he wanted all the benefits without any of the work. And worse, he's been publicly criticizing the family ever since. What makes this situation impossible is that both brothers think they're protecting what matters most, observes a diplomatic professional who has mediated high-profile family disputes. Harry thinks he's protecting his wife and kids from the same media circus that he believes contributed to his mother's death. William thinks he's protecting the monarchy itself. The institution that employs thousands, supports charities, represents British history. The final outcome remains uncertain, but palace preparations suggest William's decision may already be made. Staff describe a surreal efficiency in the preparations. Systems being updated, statements drafted, website changes prepared. There's no drama, no heated discussions, just the quiet, methodical process of removing Harry and Meghan from their official positions within the monarchy. Palace staff have allegedly been preparing for this possibility for weeks, maybe months, reveals a source with connections to royal communications teams. Updating systems, preparing statements, making sure everything's in place for the moment. William gives the final word. If implemented, the changes would be swift and clinical. One day, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex appear on the royal website with their photos and roles clearly displayed. The next, they simply vanish, as though they were never part of the family at all. This is how the monarchy handles these things, explains a historian specializing in royal transitions. Quietly, efficiently, No mess, no drama, just a clean edit and move forward. For Harry and Meghan sitting in Montecito, the moment would be devastating, despite any preparation. Imagine refreshing that page and seeing your entire identity erased, says a psychologist who specializes in identity transitions. Years of your life, your marriage, your children's heritage, all summarized by your absence from a website. Harry would become Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor, just another private citizen with an exceptionally long name. Meghan would become Mrs. Mountbatten Windsor. Archie and Lilibet would lose their prince and princess designations before they're even old enough to understand what those titles meant. Insiders say that's the part that might actually hurt Harry the most, reveals a source close to the Sussex household. Not losing his own title but watching his kids lose theirs. Because in his mind he was protecting them by leaving, and now they're losing something he can never give back. As the sun rises over both Buckingham Palace and Montecito, separated by an ocean and countless unspoken words, one reality becomes impossible to ignore. This royal family is broken in a way that may never heal. The Windsor brothers, once inseparable in their shared grief over losing their mother, have become history's coldest royal split. Whether Harry's emergency mission succeeds or fails, whether titles remain or disappear, the deeper damage is already done. The relationship has fractured beyond repair, and everyone involved knows it, even if they're not yet ready to admit it. The monarchy is changing, observes a historian who has chronicled royal transitions across centuries. William's version of what it means to be royal is taking over, and that version has no room for people who want the benefits without the responsibilities. This moment marks not just a personal tragedy for the House of Windsor, but a fundamental shift in what the British monarchy will become under William's eventual reign. Less sentimental, more business-focused, with clear boundaries between those who serve the crown and those who simply share its bloodline. As the royal family navigates this pivotal moment, the world watches a dynasty at its crossroads, caught between tradition and transformation, between family bonds and institutional survival. And for Harry, Meghan, and their children, the stakes couldn't be higher. The next chapter in this royal drama remains unwritten, but one thing is certain: nothing will ever be the same again. The monarchy may survive, as it has for 1,000 years, adapting and evolving through crisis after crisis. But the family, the brothers who once promised to always protect each other, that story appears to be reaching its tragic end, leaving the world to wonder, was it all worth it?